And thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning to our witnesses, and thank you for being here, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for holding this hearing. Today we'll be hearing from GAO and NOAA regarding the polar orbiting and geostationary satellite programs. The JPSS and GOES-R programs that NOAA maintains have experienced setbacks. Today we intend to learn what has changed since our last hearing back in February of this year. Earlier this year, GAO published a report detailing its concerns that the NOAA Polar Satellite Program, JPSS, is facing an unprecedented gap in satellite data. GAO believes that while JPSS remains within its new life cycle cost estimates and scheduled baselines, recent rises in component costs and technical issues during development increase the likelihood of a near-term data gap. Additionally, although NOAA has recently reduced its estimated potential gap from 15 to only 3 months, GAO noted that this assessment was based on incomplete data and does not account for the risk posed by space debris to satellite hardware. This is even more concerning given that the recent breakup of a retired NOAA satellite in orbit. GAO estimated that in its report that a data gap may occur earlier and last longer than NOAA anticipates. Perhaps even more troubling is the potential data gap facing NOAA's GOES-R program, the geostationary satellite system. Since its inception, the GOES-R program has undergone significant increases in cost and reductions in scope, and as GAO's report indicates, NOAA has yet to reverse or even halt this trend, as we have seen with the most recent delay to the launch, pushing a March 2016 launch date back to October 2016. This means we could be facing a long period without a backup satellite in orbit. History has shown us that backups are sometimes necessary to reduce risk to public safety and the economy. In 2008 and 2012, the agency was forced to use backup satellites to cover problems with operational satellites, a solution we may once again find ourselves needing. When talking about the consequences of a gap in weather data, the first thought in the minds of many is the devastating effects of extreme weather on the ground. However, professional and personal experience allows me to discuss the impact of gap weather data on aviation weather. As a private pilot, I know the importance of having accurate and timely weather forecasts to assess flying conditions. Pilots require accurate weather data to evaluate conditions on the ground and in the sky throughout the entire flight process from takeoff to landing. Without accurate data, a pilot runs the risk of what we call getting behind the plane, a general aviation phrase which means the plane is responding to the conditions and the pilot is responding to the plane, a situation that spells trouble for even the most seasoned pilots. Experience as a pilot does not exempt someone from getting behind the plane as weather deteriorates. As I have conducted many search and rescue missions over the years, even led some of those, and without exception, every missing aircraft that we ended up finding as a result of weather resulted in a fatality. We were basically taking remains home to the family so they can be comforted they were found. Your experience, it doesn't matter. Even the most experienced aviators, when they get in a weather situation, it can spell disaster. One of those being Scott Crossfield. Scott Crossfield is a pioneer in aviation in America. He was the second to break the sound barrier. We conducted a search and rescue mission to find the remains of his plane as it broke up in a thunderstorm over northeast Georgia. My personal experience as well, once flying to Florida, I had accurate satellite weather data in the cockpit with me, which showed thunderstorms coming off the Gulf of Mexico. I was able to accurately determine not only that I should be able to beat the thunderstorm into my destination, but also alternate airports to my west that were clear and available. Without that, I could have ended up in a very difficult situation or not made it to my destination. As I was flying in, I also heard of other pilots who didn't have that information with Mayday calls being into the weather. With our reliance on GPS weather data, Mr. Chairman, I'm afraid that without accurate weather, these incidents would be more frequent. From this perspective, you can see how a gap in weather data and consequently less accurate forecasts could negatively affect not only commercial flight safety, but also the $1.5 trillion in total economic activity that the aviation industry contributes to the national economy. I hope that today's hearing will shed some light on the complex schedule and cost demands facing NOAA's weather satellite programs, and that the subcommittees will walk away with better equipped to consider these issues moving forward. And Mr. Chairman, I know that as an aviator yourself, you understand this as well, and I yield back the balance of my time.
I'd like to thank the chairman